We are the robots after all, robots. We are the robots after all.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Robots After All. I'm Tom.
And I'm Andrew.
Yes, and we're here for another episode. We both watched The Black Widow. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Spoilers, spoiler cast, if you will. So you saw it on Disney Plus. You paid to get like the
paid the $1 million to see it.
Yeah. And then I actually went to a movie theater. So I got that whole experience. And going to a movie theater, I've seen both the pandemic styled one and now the non-pandemic. And the pandemic one was so nice because they spaced out the seating.
Oh, cool.
And you could only reserve, and then there's always 2 spaces in between you and the next person.
Or a set of people, I imagine, right? Because you could still group up if you're with people, right?
Exactly, yeah. So if you're with, you could just get how many seats you want, and then according to the map that you're reserving, it'll just, as soon as you reserve your seats, it blocks it out. So boop. Yeah, it's all, dude, if you're not in with the theater experience nowadays, it's all online. That's the way. You got to reserve it online. You can see your seats, pick them. You can see what seats are taken. So if you see too many seats taken, you can be like, I'm not going, I'll go next year or something.
Next year. That is really cool.
Yeah, so it was, so going from the pandemic phase, nice, peaceful, chaos phase, humans, too many, go away from me. I would have preferred to just stay at home and watch it, but seeing it in the theater was cool.
Yeah, I do think that you get a certain sense of awe seeing it in the theater, like especially with an action movie. Like I feel like I'm more forgiving of plot lines, and you're not like looking at it as you're so overwhelmed with the sound and like the size of the screen that a lot of the other stuff kind of goes by the wayside, and you're just kind of in that sensory overload experience.
Yes, 100% agree. I mean, when you're seeing it in a theater, yeah, you kind of oversee a lot of stuff, and you're just like, whoa, action part, extreme close up. It's just, you're focused on all the pretty colors and what's going on. And there was actually, what did we see? What did we talk about? And then I saw it again, and I was like, yeah, that was pretty bad. I forget what that was. Anyway, there's something we talked about on here, I thought.
Well, I think one of the experiences that I had like that was the Last Jedi was one of the experiences that I had like that, where I saw it in the theater and I was like, it wasn't that bad. Then I watched it again. I was like, I will never watch this movie again.
Yeah, that is actually a perfect example, because when I saw it in theater, I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like, you're not in the, unless like you're really focused critic, like reviewing movies, I'm not really thinking about like, oh, this scene jumped like 1,000,000 times in like a minute. So you're going to like, I think that was one of the big complaints, is that they introduced, like, they just shotgunned a bunch of characters at you every like 20 minutes or 10 minutes or something. But
yeah, you're there to have fun. You're there to enjoy the experience. It's a totally different kind of headspace. And then when you're at home, you're your normal curmudgeon-y self, where you can be hateful and no one's going to judge you.
yes, you don't have to deal with other people chewing on stuff.
Right.
Dead. So the movie, how did you feel overall about it?
Well, I think that because I only watched it once, I had kind of that initial reaction that we were just talking about, right? Where it's like, it's a fun movie. It was it was cool to see Black Widow back on the screen after losing her in Infinity, Endgame. I think it's Endgame that she dies in.
Endgame.
So you're clearly, it's obviously taking place before Endgame takes place. So
it's
I like
to happen. It's supposed to be right after Civil War, is the timeline.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense, because the government or Shield is still after her, kind of thing, right? So
yeah, there's a few scenes in the movie where that guy's coming after him.
Yeah. Yep. I would have liked if there had been a little bit more crossover, like if they had used it as an opportunity to get some of the other Marvel cast members in there. Even Mark Ruffalo would have been cool. They
Oh.
kind of touch on romance with the Hulk
Yeah.
in some of the other Marvel movies, and I think having the sole Black Widow movie would have been kind of cool to potentially have something there, but they wanted the relationship to be focused on her sister. I think that worked really well. She brought a comedic relief to the story that I think added some lightheartedness and just some kind of almost like fourth wall breaking humor and stuff that really worked and kind of
Yeah, her
poking.
sister.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a movie catered towards her. And it's funny you say that because I think they wanted to have more crossovers, but they focused more on like the female roles within the movie as a whole. And because I think they were gonna have Robert Downer Jr. in it, but they didn't want like a masculine role to kind of like be helping them.
Okay.
But that's like a whole other thing about it in general. But yeah, I think the movie itself kind of they're shifting the focus to the sister, and that's gonna, I mean, obviously, because after the end credits you can see that like she's gonna be like the next Black Widow in a sense, or wherever she is. I'm sure she has a comic book name that I'm not aware of.
Yeah, I don't know her in the comics at all.
And yeah, I think her acting and her character, I think that was the highlight of the film itself, was their relationship, and all of
Totally.
the scenes with her and the family stood out the most. And the action were just kind of like cool little set pieces throughout the film that I almost like lost focus during some of them. I was just like, I found the story more interesting, and I looked forward to more of that than just like explosions on the screen and all that hoopla.
Yeah, I wish that they had gone into some of the childhood trauma stuff that they kind of touch on in some of the Marvel movies, like of her being trained at a very, very young age. There's even the scene in the very beginning where her father says, you were much younger when you had to go through this, when they're at the airport and they're being taken away after they come back to Russia from being on that mission in Ohio or whatever.
Yep.
I wish that they had actually played on that a little bit. But I mean, I guess the emotional payoff they were going for was the family connection, and the fact that even though they were on a mission together, the fact that they had bonded for 3 years was kind of strong enough to create a sense of family that drove their connection for them to be all on the same side when kind of facing the same adversary. So
yeah, I think given the facts, and I think they could have built it a little bit better where but it's interesting, they kind of sum it up in a montage about like the dark side of her life. Like they show it a little bit in the beginning where she's young, and then they do like a montage how they get separated. And it really is about the sister, the younger sister, because she was the one who was kind of lost to this family idea, the most.
Right.
And she's kind of like the glue that's kind of sticking the family together in a sense, because being the youngest child, they're just going to be more emotionally attached to her because she's the most innocent.
Right.
And so
well,
that's why.
Was she actually a biological child? That's the other thing I'm not clear on.
I don't think she was.
Because I know I'm pretty sure that Romanoff was not, because she was older and she'd already gone through training at that point, because she already was able to like wield a gun and stuff when she got to the
Right.
airport. But the
Yeah,
girl,
no, I don't think there was any biological.
So where'd she come from?
That kid, I guess, I don't know, one of those truck things.
Oh, that's where kids from. Forgot that's where babies come from. is truck
I
babies.
don't know. Maybe she was abducted. She was an orphan.
Yeah.
Who knows? They didn't really say anything about that, I guess. Did they?
No, they didn't really. I actually kind of had the impression that it was like they had been there for so long that they did actually have a kid.
Oh, maybe that. Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
that went over my head if that's the case.
She was really, I mean, she was very young. She would have been around like probably, I mean, she probably would have been around like 7 with that first actor. That's the actress from Haunting on Hill House, the little girl who I really like a lot.
I felt like there was a scene where they talk about how she was sold to them, or the original parents got rid of her, or they were around or something. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they weren't, because the when you fast forward to when they meet up again, she's kind of like, "Oh, it was real to me," you know. So I don't think there really was.
Yeah, I mean, in any event, that was the earliest parents that she had a memory of. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So yep, and then they the main overarching plot is them trying to take down the Black Widow gang, hosted by or hosted or led by the evil Russian dude.
Technology billionaire.
Yeah,
Really like
Dreykov is his name.
yeah, basically faceless.
Yes.
Like very
Also,
character
not
development.
not the best character in the movie. Poor villain, in my opinion. Then wasn't
Yeah,
really
he
selling
was
it.
he was just a literary device. Like he didn't really have any personality. There was nothing dynamic. He was just like, I can do things, so I do them, was kind of like his main motivator. So that wasn't terribly interesting.
Yeah, I feel like his actions, they didn't really show how evil he was until he met up with Romanoff again in a lot of ways, because it just didn't feel severe enough. Like of a, it's not. It didn't feel like a good enough build up. So at the end, we're like, yeah, give it to him. You know what I mean? It
Right.
just like happened really quick. They show some flashbacks, but it just they don't build on the fact of like this guy is supposed to be an evil POS. You know?
I think they're just banking on you feeling sorry for the fact that he's like abducting these girls at a young age,
Yeah.
training them, and then basically brainwashing them or like mind controlling them.
Yes.
It's like the main kind of emotional motivator where you're just like, okay, that's enough for me to hate this guy and want
Yeah.
to see him taken down.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I guess, yeah, leave some to the imagination, even though that, I mean, it just seems to all kind of happen at once in the end. But yeah, pretty dark stuff. And then they go into Romanoff's backstory about her trying to kill Dreykov, the main baddie, but instead just kills the daughter, not kills the daughter. And big twist where Taskmaster is the daughter. She's like half human or all human, just I guess more enhanced than the other widows.
Half baked.
Yeah, she's half baked, all right, literally. And basically, all of the Black Widows are just brainwashed, and they have this formula that one person has. Don't know where the formula comes from.
Yeah, none of that's explained.
The sister gets the formula exploded in her face. She becomes aware of her actions again. It's like, oh, I killed my friend. And then that's kind of like how it goes from point A to point whatever.
Yeah. I think as we're talking about this, I'm realizing like how much the wool is kind of pulled over your eyes in this movie a bit, where it's like you're just kind of like, okay, like trying to pick up what they're putting down. And by the time you actually pick up on it, like they've collected like 3 or 4 ideas and they're like, okay, we're just gonna run with these. It's like, okay, we got the family, family's important. Bond was strong enough for us to work together. This guy is bad, we're gonna go get him, and sister bond. And that's like the kind of primary bullet points, I feel like. Whereas in the beginning, there's there's like more mystery building. It's like, oh, who is this? Who is the Red Guardian? Who, why was he spying? What was the mission he was doing in Ohio? Where's this antidote being synthesized? Like who's the organization or the scientists that are synthesizing this cure? Is there any backstory to kind of what their agenda is? Like there's all these kind of questions going on in your head. And then when you actually see the story, you're like, okay, here's the very kind of simplistic version of kind of where we're going to go with this. One scene that really bothered me, that just while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to bring it up, is she hasn't seen her sister in forever. And I get that like the idea was like they didn't trust each other right off the bat. But I think it was totally bizarre that as soon as Black Widow sees her sister, they just start fighting. And it's like this unnecessary fight scene. Like I felt like I just like kind of had an eye roll moment during that scene where I was just like, okay, yeah, we get it. You guys are both, ninja assassin masters, but like, why wouldn't you have some level of conversation first? Let the conversation escalate to like, hey, I can't trust you, and then maybe fight and then resolve it. But the fact that like the first thing they do without even, it just felt very out of character, especially because they're so chummy, like directly after that.
Yeah, it is weird because I mean she knows she's an Avenger, so she's not brainwashed, right?
Right.
So it is kind of a weird when you look back
And
and think
Black Widow doesn't even know about the brainwashing yet.
no,
At
that's
that,
true. Yeah. Yeah, she
so
doesn't know about it.
like, why'd you send me this?
Yeah, like, what is
What is this? Yeah.
You guys are brainwashed?
And she's like, I know I sent you this because I trust you, but I don't trust you. Let's fight.
Yeah, and how did she escape? I guess they kind of go into it in another movie. Because I had watched another review about it, and apparently she goes into a little bit of how the past her past life and how she like doesn't have sex organs anymore, can't have kids.
Yeah, they removed
Which
their
apparently there's a lot of controversy over that. And then in this movie, they like raise it to 11 of like what happens and like when they're in the plane and they're talking about
Yeah.
all the organs getting ripped out. I'm like, whoa, geez. So like,
Yeah.
who's the? That's another thing about this is like, who is this movie for? Because I can't imagine young kids being into it, like
Right.
little girls, because they have all this like adult humor
Right.
and stuff like that. It's a very all over the place movie where they have these moments of kind of disturbing dialogue and then they just have like these nice little family reunited moments as well. So I feel like it's a very confusing movie. And I can't imagine taking like a kid that might be into like Black Widow to see this movie and, having all these weird things brought up in it.
Yeah, I will say though, I do like the fact that they're like I've been actually rewatching the dinosaurs Jim Henson show, like that live action. Do you remember like the dinosaurs family?
Yes, of course.
So I've been rewatching that. And
Spoilers.
I've been realizing that there's something that's been lost like in modern entertainment that like we used to have. Like there's like an edge, there's a darkness that used to kind of be in like 80s entertainment, 90s entertainment. And like
Well, I will say because when I went and saw, I to my point where I said, "Oh, can't imagine a kid going to see this," but then my dad would bring me to like Freddy Krueger movies and
that's what I was
those
gonna say.
horrible
Like,
movies.
we were raised on a much kind of darker entertainment palette. And I think that like something like castration, or women having all their reproductive organs being removed, like I could totally see that being in something that we would have watched as a kid, to like have that factor of just like the appalling factor where you're just like, this is just like atrocious that like somebody would do this to another human being. So
Yeah, because I guess when you're a kid, everything's a lot more visual. You're not concentrating on the dialogue as much. So
yeah,
it's
I think
like,
a lot of that would have
my favorite
yeah.
character and doing stuff like Ninja Turtles.
Well, and it's actually right in the dialogue. So like I'm a nerd. I'm into like a lot of like the science and like anatomy and stuff. Like it's not like lost on me. But like there's even a scene where she says like, I was just about to say fallopian tube, and it's like that's not offensive or weird or like anything to me. Like it totally rolls off like it's nothing. It's just a female reproductive organ. But like the way that they're positioning it is almost like the audience should be like, oh God, no, like what.
And I think that's why they did it, because there was a lot of controversy over how they presented it in one of the previous movies for some reason. So now I think this might have been a reason why they included this aspect of it, to say like, hey, well, this, like, these are just words, it's like you guys flipped out about this other thing. It's like, why? So
yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, but I do agree that it does have a bit of a I don't know, I feel like it's trying to, I feel like it's just the case with a lot of entertainment now. It's like everything has its like, I don't want to say it has an agenda, but it's like things are being positioned a very specific way. It's not just like I feel like there are like things that they're specific, like you said, like they were going to bring Robert Downey Jr. in, and they're like, you know what, maybe we don't want to actually have him in because maybe he
Dude, Disney is woke, man. It's woke Disney.
Yeah, woke Disney. That might be might be what's happening. But
The woke world we live in.
yeah. So that
Taskmasters.
that definitely felt like it had a presence in the writing. I do fear that that kind of stuff starts closing doors on creativity. To be totally honest, I mean, comedians have been talking about it for years. That it closes the doors on kind of what they can use for material. And I remember watching a documentary. I forget what it was actually called now. I think it was called. No, was it called The Aristocrats? Or is that just the joke they always talked about? There was some like
Aristocats.
yes, that too. Also Disney. There was some like it was like George Carlin, Bob Saget. Like there's a bunch of like really great comedians, and they were basically talking about this one joke that everybody does called The Aristocrats. And I think that was the name of the documentary, but they cover that as well. That it's like everything can be funny in the right context. And I think that everything is even the darkest subject matter is a color on the palette of the art form of storytelling. So it's like, I don't want to see this kind of reality tunnel shaping. And Disney's been guilty of this for years, right? I mean, they've been doing this with even their animated films, like, very there's a hand selection of kind of what's appropriate for them to include in their movies, the messaging, the things that they want, to instill into the public kind of thing. So I'm not surprised that it's still kind of happening, but it also is just a shame because I think that you can very quickly counter your own intention by doing something like that, right? So rather than just kind of very naturally telling a story.
Yeah.
Perfect example of that is like, if you want a really good female protagonist, girl power story, look no further than Ripley in Aliens. And it was just 100% natural, organic. Like there was no need to like, do anything, like don't include, a specific male character or something like that.
Right.
To get that message across. It was just the proof was in the pudding that she was an absolute badass and she deserved the focus because it was written so well that that's the end result, rather than it being prescribed for us.
Yeah, I think it can be tastefully done and it doesn't need to be force fed like in like it has been lately in a lot of different movies. I mean, you want to like build these iconic superheroes for children to kind of look up to
and follow the example.
Yeah, and you want to be into these characters, but it's just like a lot of it is tiptoeing around and being very like certain ideas or being very careful about everything. And I don't know. I think overall, I think you're in agreement. It's like the way they made this movie. It's like people can get upset about whatever they want, but ultimately it's like it's just another movie, and I don't really like. It's not a big deal in my life for them to make certain choices of things they want to change.
Right.
And if it builds a story, you can build a good story around that. I'm all for it. But if it's like kind of cookie cutter and you're just kind of forcing it in there, it just doesn't work that well.
Just keeping it safe kind of thing. Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that I was still able to have some really strong emotional moments in this movie. I think that there was some really good cinematography and art direction, and there was all kinds of stuff to like. And I do think that they were able to really build a strong relationship between the sisters that I absolutely loved. It was their chemistry was amazing, and like especially the new actress. I feel so bad that I'm actually not remembering.
Her name is Florence Pugh. She was in Midsummer. Florence Pugh. She was in like a horror thriller movie, Midsummer.
Oh, okay. She was amazing. I loved her character. I loved
great.
Yeah, her again, like the chemistry she had with Scarlett Johansson was just perfect. So I mean, it while what we're talking about was certainly present, it didn't detract from my enjoyment of the experience as so much just kind of be in the periphery vision of being like, I'm acknowledging that that's there's something going on there, but didn't really directly detract from it didn't make it so that I couldn't enjoy the movie, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. And I feel like if I wanted to see more Taskmaster story, if they're going to have this reveal that it's the daughter,
right?
Like
she's like one fight on the bridge.
Yeah, show the relationship with her and the dad. Like have a scene where like her head's up, her mask's off, talking to the dad, and she's kind of like brainwashed or like, so you
Right.
get that like emotion for this character, and you
Well, and
get that
also
a little bit towards the end where like she kind of where um
Scarlett
Roman
Johansson.
Black Widow saves her, and they have like a fight scene, but then eventually she's able to save her. But I just, if they built on her character more, so that reveal, but the reveal was just so weak, and they just popped the head
I
off.
agree.
Who am I? Guess who I am? I'm Burn Woman.
Yeah, you know who I thought it was actually going to be? I almost texted you when I was watching it, and I'm glad I didn't. But now I'm going to permanently record this so that my idiocy gets documented. But I thought it was going to be the Red Guardian when they first showed the Taskmaster. I was
Really?
like, oh, that's going to be her dad, like her, and then it's going to be like this, like you know, reconnection story. And then the like 2 scenes later or 1 scene later, they cut to the prison, and it's him like arm wrestling everybody, and I'm like, I guess it's not the dad. And I was like, maybe it's the mom.
Interesting.
Like maybe it's the mom. There has to be
The
some
mom
kind
would
of
have been interesting,
yeah. So something there was a connection there, but
but they made it
um,
like the connection was like, even when they retold the story about her blowing up the daughter,
yeah,
wasn't that impactful. Like if they just built on her like Taskmaster as a character more, it's like I could have seen like a Taskmaster movie, and that I feel like building up to that, like it would have been really cool, you know, if they just put a lot more focus on that developing that story.
well, I think her story was like one of the most tragic within the entire storyline, and it's
Right.
kind of a footnote, you know. Like I
Yeah.
mean, the her sister that I already, you know, I know you said the actress's name, but I can't. What's her sister's name in the
Oh, Yelena Belova.
Yelena?
Yelena. I don't
Did
know how they
they not
pronounce.
say her name like one time or something? Because I can't even
I feel
remember.
like they barely say it.
Yeah.
Yelena.
Well, her, you know, she was obviously brainwashed or whatever, but it seems like she kind of got out of that, at least in the way they did it in the storyline. She got out of that situation pretty quickly. Um, but I feel like this other, you know, this Dracov's daughter has had this like lifelong traumatic experience. She was like a normal little girl. She comes home from, you know, some school one day, gets blown up, half her face gets blown off. Dad probably is like, no daughter of mine anymore because, you know, you're not attractive, or you're not, you know, going to be like a normal kid because your face is all burned. I'm embarrassed of you. So I'm going to turn you into one of my experiments. We're going to cover your face. We're going to completely brainwash you. Like, that is an interesting story. That is horrifying, and there's an awful lot of emotional payoff whenever you know, when you do that reveal, or when you have that character be able to kind of come out of that brainwashed state. And again, like you're right, it was like all that glory was given to Black Widow, who is the person who fucking blew her up in the first place. So it's like,
Mm.
no, you don't get a pass for this. Like, you're still awful. You still blew this little girl up to try to kill this other guy, which, you know, whatever. If you want to
Hey, she said
look at
sorry
that,
at the end.
she did say
Finally,
she was sorry.
I was worried that she wasn't even going to do that.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like we have this, like, you know, the title of the movie is Black Widow. We have this bias where it's just like, oh, they're the good guy, so like, you know,
Mm.
whatever they
I mean,
do is just like kind of forgiven. But
it's nice that they did that. They tried to put like her in this kind of dark scenario, and not just like she was this superhero that did everything right.
well, they do that in the Marvel movies, but I feel like they actually do a better job of that in the Marvel movies,
You know,
of making you feel like she has a dark past. And here, you know, they show this one thing,
yeah.
and then it's just very it's very kind of not wishy-washy, because she doesn't actually kill the person, and then she has this redemption story with them.
Yeah.
So it's like not really that dark past. Again, I really think it would have been interesting to see her upbringing, because they start with her as a little girl in the beginning of the movie. I think it would have been a lot cooler to see her actual upbringing, where she was doing assassinations at a young age, because she was probably killing people left and right as like a teenage girl, you know, and seeing that storyline and seeing some of the trauma that would have caused, and then that past coming back to bite her might have been interesting. But the way that they did it, it just, yeah, it wasn't terribly compelling for me.
Yeah. But everything else, I mean, some of the more laughable moments are actually like the action scenes where they are pretty much like invincible throughout the whole movie. I feel like they kind of get like winded sometimes, and then like they're like kind of hurt a little bit, but then they're fine after. I mean, the very first meeting where she meets Taskmaster, car gets blown up, she goes flipping over like almost off a bridge. Then like another car gets flipped over when she's with the sister. They're just hanging
Somehow,
out.
she
Nothing
also
happens.
somehow manages to grab the antidotes out of that case that the Taskmaster had just seen and went
Yeah, she's
after.
really quick, huh?
And she didn't, she's like, oh, you're not even after me. You're after this thing. And like Taskmaster's already on the way to the car. And
Mm.
somehow, even though she had no previous knowledge that that case had something in it that she needed to get,
Yeah.
she then got it out. You know, that was,
By the way, that was probably the only cool fight with the Taskmaster.
yeah, that was really
Master.
cool.
That was like the only because she shows off all like the little power, like the shield, the sword,
Yeah, that was
little
awesome.
moves. But then after that, fights Red Guardian. You barely even see any of that.
Yeah.
They fight at the end. I don't even remember what happens. They're fighting in the air, falling. Come on, the whole ending was just like action blur. They're running from the explosions. I told you about this already. They run from
Yeah.
explosions multiple times, like not looking back. Just yeah. The sister gets blown up and flies off. She saves them, saves her somehow, and then Taskmaster jumps after him. Action time.
Yeah, it was definitely like gratuitous action toward the end. You're right. And it wasn't like I wasn't as in it. I was very much like kind of eyes glazing over by that point. I agree with you. I think that the story points and the emotional beats of the story were where the movie really was shining. More so than the actual action itself.
Yeah,
Which is good. I
was
mean,
okay.
I just think it could have been also a lot more. It was still very shallow on that front.
Yeah.
So
And what else? Oh, the fact that it's like a flying thing in the sky, that also was kind of like Cloud City. Like I don't like what is this? They have a floating like that's the Red Room. Is them they're in the sky?
oh, that's
This
right.
giant like floating thing that goes
Yeah.
unnoticed by everybody, every military in the world apparently.
Bioshock Infinite.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to the sky now.
Yeah.
Always to the sky. Yeah,
Skyward Sword.
it was weird. I don't know, the pig cruelty.
Yeah, didn't like seeing that when she
I
was
was
like,
like,
stop
I was
breathing.
actually like bothered by that when that was happening. I was like, "Ooh, this is like making me uncomfortable."
Yeah, I didn't
Poor
like it either.
pig, the pig. Well, I mean, and whatever they did worked. They messed with our emotions with that pig.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't know. Red Guardian, he was fun. The mom's kind of cool, I guess. Everybody loves Dave Harbour's character, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny, but it's also like one note character like dynamics. Like, duh, dumb thing I say, I do a dumb
Yeah.
thing now. I wrestle. I make like some of the funniest talk when he was like comparing himself to Captain America and that he fought him. That was kind of funny, but like everything else, he's just like a doofus.
Yeah, and it didn't match the very, very beginning of the movie. The very beginning of the movie, he's really serious. He clearly seems smart. He does like some crazy heroics that were like super James Bondy and like clearly like on the level, super with it, super awesome. And then you
And then
see
he
him
just turns
go and
into,
he's like, "Hey, I am dumb guy. Remember me?"
it just turns into like a buffoon. It's just
Yeah.
like I've been
Yeah.
in a prison too long, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that was bizarre. And I do think that was to just create the appropriate kind of character dynamics so that Black Widow and her sister could kind of really be the stars, and the mom as well, you know, because like it allows them kind of the space, and he's just the comedic relief. But
Yeah.
because I think if they were all serious, it would the movie would have had a totally different feel, and it wouldn't have had that kind of typical Marvel feel to it. So they had to do that, but at the same time, then fine, make that consistent throughout the entire film. Have him come home from work in the very first scene. He's like, hey, family, I'm an idiot. Hey, you want to go on a trip?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, and that whole prison escape scene was kind of rough. It was just
Yeah.
like kind of a mess.
It was also kind of horrifying that she just caused that avalanche, kills everybody. He's like, see you later. Sorry, I shot the rocket and missed.
Hope you guys survived.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
best
guess
of luck to you.
get back inside, but I don't know.
Yeah.
The yeah, so I mean, as a whole, I mean, it's a lot to dissect, but I think overall, I enjoyed the film. I enjoyed the story arc, some of the character building with the sisters. It's definitely more of a sister movie, Yelena's movie, than it is a Black Widow movie in a lot of ways. I wanted to bring up one of the funniest scenes was where she imitates the posing
Yes,
in the convenience store.
that is
Those
that
were
is
the scenes that like made the movie.
and that was actually impromptu. That actress actually brought that idea to the writers' table. I was watching an interview like after the fact, and I thought that was so cool that she actually brought that flavor. Because again, I think it really comes down to like the chemistry that she was bringing on screen that was just making the movie even better.
Yeah, I heard about that as well. She was making fun of the pose on set or something, and then it kind of like became it just came into the movie from her.
Yeah.
It's just it was so funny. But yeah, everything, she beats the bad guy at the end.
Good guys win.
All the girls get to choose their own life after. I'm not sure how that happens, but she does computer stuff and all the girls are free that would have been enslaved.
I think that they throw in, don't they throw a grenade over the crowd of the girls that are left?
Well, that part, but then there's like the world map he had.
That's
of all
right.
those girls.
That's
She
right.
does something to like, I don't know if
Deactivate all their chips or something. I think it was
Yeah.
actually a computer chip that was in their leg because she cuts it out of her leg at the very
Yeah.
beginning.
Was it her
I think
leg?
there was some chip that they were using, but I don't know. I mean, none of that was explained. Like, I don't know if it was a neurochemical thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was I don't know what it was, but
Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah,
yep, saves the day. He gets blown up you think he's gonna escape, he gets blown up in a helicopter, his glasses go away. That's like how he
you
gets
know you're
blown up,
done.
but then the glasses are the last shot. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. Forgot he had glasses.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Then they all fly down. All the Black Widows are free. The family goes their own path. Scarlet goes back with the guy, gets, I guess, kind of arrested by the.
Oh, that's right.
Is it
Like-
Shield?
Yeah,
Is it Shield?
because again, it's the Civil War thing. Like, she's violating the whatever that superhero act thing is. I forget what it's called now, but
Yeah.
something accords. It had something to do with what happened in that scene in Civil War where the king of Wakanda gets killed.
Oh,
I
you're
can't
trying to like pin it on her.
Segovia? Is it Segovia? Is that where it happens? Segovia? I don't know.
I don't remember.
I forget.
But yeah, they were trying to pin the assassination on
On
her.
her.
She was involved somehow.
Yeah,
Her and what's that guy's name? Winter Soldier.
Bucky.
Bucky. But yeah. So she goes with them. They
Live happily
Yelena
ever after.
goes away. What is the ending though?
I don't remember.
Did you just roll credits right after like that scene, the fight scene?
I think she has the redemption thing with Taskmaster on the ground, and then I think she gets up and then she gets arrested, and then it's like Monty Python where everyone just gets arrested and they end the movie.
Yes.
I honestly don't remember, but
I know that Yelena flies off with her family or something with the other Black Widows and they go somewhere.
that sounds like you're making this up on the spot.
No, she went
Like,
with
she
them.
flies off with her family, the Black Widows and
Yeah, the family.
Bear Bears. It's great.
But yeah, movie ends. They save the day. Black Widow dies in Endgame. And now we have a new character to focus on, Yelena, because
Oh, I thought it was the Red Guardian.
no, well, he might be come back at some point. Who cares about him? Yelena,
The walking jelly bean.
because the return of end credit scenes are back. This is it, man. We're getting into the Marvel next phase, whatever.
Oh no, this is gonna be a spoiler for me because I didn't watch the end credits. I
You didn't see
watch
the end credits? Go back and watch it. Do you still have access to it?
I should, yeah. I spent $1 million on it.
So have you seen Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Yes.
So you know how they introduced that office lady with the blue hair,
No.
Elaine?
Oh, I did see the end scene. I did see the end credit scene. That's when she comes through with the grave at the grave.
At the grave, yeah. She's like, this is the guy you have to go over as a photo of Hawk, and he's like the worst photo. It's like, yeah, Hawk had a rough day, man. These hairs. It's like, oh. But yeah, so they're trying to make her. They're making like this organization with that character with the blue hair streak. What's her name?
Elaine.
Yeah, Elaine. Elaine has this organization. She's got the agent now.
Yeah.
And now she's trying to recruit these people to do evil stuff. I don't know what's going on there. I barely even care. All I know is that Yelena is the new Black Widow. Hello, here we go. Marvel Phase 10,000, baby.
It's over 9,000.
It's happening, man. And now Loki, spoilers for Loki, multiverse is haywire. They're gonna have friggin' alien Thor, frog Thor. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you could just bring Black Widow back through the multiverse, and it's just a different version.
Essentially, yeah, they could, but I think they're done. I think those actors are done.
Yeah, they probably are. I mean, it's been what, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it's
Oh
been.
my goodness, can you believe that?
2007, I think that was the first Iron Man. So
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
still arguably the best movie out of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, really. That was definitely one of my favorite. When I first saw that, I was like, this is insanely good.
Yeah, it was amazing. The end of that movie, the when he's like, the truth is, I am Iron Man. Like that. That's so cliche
and
now.
then like it just end credits. You're like,
Yeah, and
"What?"
the crowd actually explodes for a second, and then it just ends credits. So you
Yeah,
hear-
oh, that's
like,
right. They're like,
"Ah," and then it just like goes to credits. You're like, wow, the baller ending.
so cool. 2008
Okay,
it says
Those
on
were-
Google, and apparently the Hulk came out that year too.
the
Only
Edward Norton one.
a month apart. About, huh?
Was that the Edward Norton one?
Yeah, that kind of dumped. And then Edward Norton's like, nah, I'm not doing this. I want more money. Something. That
We
film
don't-
wasn't terrible though. It was pretty.
No,
good.
I watched it. It wasn't bad.
Oh wow, Google's got the whole friggin' lineup here.
Yeah, the internet does that. So
Yeah.
should we wrap this up?
Yeah, that's it. Black Widow. It's in
You've gone to the
theaters
search
now.
engine.
What?
Since you've gone to the search engine.
I've
for
gone to
more
the search
information.
engine better ended, man, because this could get dark. Yeah, Black Widow. A good movie. I mean, whatever. I enjoyed it. It's I wouldn't see it again, would you?
I would probably not. I'd probably not watch it again. No. Whereas I think a lot of the other Marvel movies I would. There's a couple of Marvel movies though that I probably wouldn't watch again. So it's not like that's like a major dig against it. But yeah, Black Widow.
You
4 out of
you-
10 bananas.
4 out of 10 bananas. I'll give it 6.5. Red Guardian dandruff flakes.
Red Guardian flavored jelly beans.
Yeah, 6.5 pig cruelty.
Yeah,
Yep,
Cool.
that's it. Anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's it.
What
So
else you been watching? Bye.
see you next time.
All right, have a good one, everybody. Thanks for everything you do. Bye.